that won't require too much effort. So to start with, I'll just make a brief presentation on the subject and more or less setting the overview, and then we'll have the presentations by each of the speakers, followed by an open question and answer session. So first of all, a warm welcome. I think the subject of health insurance is a topic that is close to the hearts of many of us, and also one of the areas where technology adoption in the health sector has been amongst the fastest in the health sector. So, the discussion we'll have, I'll probably take the next 10 minutes or so giving an overview of the issues and challenges and some of the opportunities that lie ahead of us in the space of ICT adoption in the cashless claims space in health insurance and in the broader health insurance space within which claims lie. This is not moving. Can someone come from the technical side? Okay, fine, happen. Thank you. So, as I started by saying, ICT, information and communication technology, is being seen as the game changer for both the government and private health insurance space by addressing two critical challenges. One challenge is of reducing transaction costs. So technology is enabling faster use of processes which are e-enabled, and so enrollment, distribution, communication, claim processing all happens at a pace and cost unimagined earlier. And the second big transformation there is in its ability to collect information and use it wisely. So improving internal controls and the information environment for health insurance, reducing fraud and leakages, and improving product design, be it a private health insurance product or a product coming from a government health insurance program. So that's the space. These are the two main game-changing areas where ICT is bringing about a change. So most developments in the IT space for Indian health insurance actually took place in the last decade. The arrival of private insurers and third-party administrators, which happened as recently as 2001, led to investments in claim processing systems, IT systems that could help process and also help improve the business intelligence environment and create better management information. There was an IRDA data working group in 2004, which actually created standards for data and required some electronic data to be submitted for each of the insurance policies, each of the members, and each of the claims to IRDA in a central repository. And it required them to use ICD-10 coding for the diagnosis as early as 2004. This is as much as 5 years before the United States adopted ICD-10. So we really at that time did things much ahead of the curve, trying to catch up on our late progress and late commencement of work in ICT. So at that time, the Tariff Advisory Committee, which was then has been replaced more recently by the Insurance Information Bureau of India, created standardization and compilation of health insurance data, particularly claims data, across the industry. This data repository now has a couple of 100 million of records, I imagine, since 2004. So the arrival of this data repository and followed by some mass government health insurance schemes, and we'll have the benefit of hearing from two people who really lead such programs in the states of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, and between them cover more than 100 million people for tertiary care and higher cost ailments. So these mass government health insurance schemes brought a lot of new expectations in being able to deliver services at a very low cost, in being able to reach out to the rural areas, in being able to address the total cost of health insurance being less than $5 or $10 per family, and being able to not only manage the actual claim cost but also keep transaction costs very low to be able to meet these costs. Some of the lowest cost implementation of health insurance globally has happened. So it has brought new expectations and new capabilities. We saw smart cards which enable offline authorizations. We saw paperless claim submissions, which both these programs have. We saw use of virtual private networks for communication of data. We saw closed user groups in terms of communication and being able to exchange information over voice. We saw an expectation of 100% cashless authorization. In the private health insurance space, even today we struggle with 50-60% cashless and the rest being authorized, not being cashless but being reimbursement mode. But the government programs were, these new generation government programs are all in fully cashless mode right from the beginning. And then this is just the beginning. There were also experiments with mobile phone payments, with handheld devices, and in the private sector with prepaid insurance kits, with prepaid pharmacy cards, with e-vouchers for physician consultations. All this has already been tried. Some of this is not that well known, but it has already been tried in the Indian context. So if you see some of the illustrations of how Indian health insurance has embraced IT in terms of distribution, there have been web-based platforms to distribute, there has been mobile technology used to distribute, indeed mobile wallets being used to make payments. In terms of enrollment and identification of the users, there have been substantial use, and I'm talking about numbers like 35 million families have a card, a smart card each every year in RSBY. So smart cards with offline data storage on a chip, use of biometrics widespread, whether on the card or at the back end, a lot of offline and online tools for identification and entitlement verification. So this has been the illustration of use in the enrollment front. In terms of data compilation and analytics, all this claims data has been used to automate processing of claims using business intelligence tools, which also leads to fraud control and improved management. A lot of product design improvements, a lot of innovation in terms of what can be done, and interim on the fly changes in programs because of data and information coming in. A lot of processes have been automated, whether it is connectivity between the different stakeholders, between the providers and the insurer or the TPA, or even with the beneficiary, several web-enabled applications in place, and electronic payments is no longer an exception but often the norm in most of these cases. So the last field I'll illustrate is customer service, using this for customer relationship management, client communication, and finally the new frontier where over the last 2-3 years there has been a working group with Ministry of Health and FICCI, and more recently there was a joint working group with the Department of Health and the Department of Information Technology, trying to think about an electronic health records architecture for the country, and trying to think about what should be the standards for communication and privacy when we move to a regime of electronic health records. I'll just illustrate some of these standardization initiatives that have happened in the health insurance industry. So from standard treatment guidelines to standard pre-authorization and claim forms to standard definitions, using common hospital IDs, standard billing codes, all this has been already tried, delivered, and has recently found place in the IRDA guidelines on health insurance that were issued earlier this year in 2013. So this work has been ongoing for the last 5 years, and the expected spin-off of all this standardization is to minimize confusion, enhance comparability, ensure transparency and fair practices, and finally to yield data for better use of information and for the development of the sector. I'll come to an illustration now. This was the private health insurance space. I'll come to an illustration from the government health insurance schemes space. There's a very visible encouraging trend to adopt or strengthen data analytics across all schemes. There are several prominent innovations. I already mentioned these smart cards, which actually have a very sophisticated security feature using a dual authorization with biometrics before the chip can be written upon, and verification, batch transfer of transaction data to enable areas with poor connectivity to be able to service health insurance claims in a fully cashless manner. Similarly, if you look at Arogyasri or the Chief Minister's comprehensive health insurance scheme in Tamil Nadu, they are able to use paperless claim processing. Arogyasri uses digital signatures enabled user IDs, which tracks what each person is able to do and what their authorizations are, and with a comprehensive web-enabled MIS that all the stakeholders use. Tamil Nadu also uses webcam-based monitoring of field functionaries. So you can actually see what people are doing on the screen because there's a webcam looking on their face, and so the remotely distributed people do not have a supervisor in situ, so you can see what they are doing just using a randomly selected application which tells where people are in terms of their presence opposite the webcam. Several schemes are planning other tools to strengthen their information systems and data analytics, and one example is yet another health insurance program of the government of Karnataka called Vajpayee Arogyasri. However, the test of the pudding will be in its effective use to inform the management. So not just in terms of collecting this data and authorizing the process and enabling the process to be smoother, but the real essence and real advantage of this will lie when this is used to inform the management and to address the current challenges that the sector faces. So just a summary of current practices. I've already mentioned most of these. I'll not go on this slide, but just to illustrate that schemes as the government-sponsored health insurance programs, right from RSBY, Tamil Nadu, Employee State Insurance Scheme, Karnataka, CGHS and Andhra Pradesh have all different levels of application of ICT in their programs and are using different technologies to be able to address their challenges that they're facing and to be able to smoothen their transaction experience. I'll just highlight one more use which is common to both public and private insurance programs, which is being able to use ICT to address misutilization and fraud in health insurance claims. A fraud in health insurance claims is something that affects every stakeholder. It leads to a more payout from the insurer, be that insurer private or be that insurer the government. It does lead to more payout from the insurer, but it also leads to two more spin-off effects. It leads to an increasing premium for the product, and it also leads to loss of confidence in the health insurance space. And both these factors are something that we would like to wean off from the system, and for that using ICT would be key to the future. So the misutilization or fraud takes multiple forms: misrepresentation, the wrong person is taking the benefit; claims submitted by non-existing hospitals or for services not rendered; billing for higher level of services, or charging the patients when they should not have charged the patients, and so on. And data analytics makes claim control systems possible along several domains, including keeping a vigil on the claim data, automated as well as superimposed reviews of the transactions, and finally the system generate leads to be able to follow up with physical verification. Finally, this can also be a loop from grievance and feedback systems that can help in addressing this challenge. So my last slide, the challenges that we together need to address in wider adoption of information and communication technologies in health insurance: the multiplicity of forms and formats. If the forms are not standard, if the formats are too many, the vendors for hospitals and the vendors for different stakeholders will not be able to choose what exactly to provide, and unless this is standardized, it will create a lot of confusion in the system and delays data sharing and data exchange. Sharing of data between the different players, unless the different insurers, for example, collaborate to share their data, they will not be able to do much justice to either fraud control or to data analytics. Switching from legacy systems requires handling complex manpower, training and awareness issues. Lack of standards for electronic health records. This could change soon, but this affects integration with hospital information systems, and those who are developing hospital information systems do not really know whether these standards will change overnight. So giving certainty on those standards and creating standards for India will be important. Support from health professionals, doctors, nurses. Unless we make smart tools or smart software programs that reduce and not increase their burden, we will not be able to succeed in getting them to use IT systems at their end, and we cannot really do it otherwise. We cannot really expect much way otherwise. And I think the Tamil Nadu experience of HMIS has much to tell us on this. The connectivity issues at provider level are another issue, especially in remote areas, especially we're talking about clinics in suburban and semi-urban areas. This is changing fast and this will keep changing, but this continues to be an issue in many areas of the country. And finally, taking the effort to design these well. These ICT applications need time, need patience, and need strong foundations. If that effort is not taken, then the project is much more likely to fail. And so this patience and taking the effort to design well is something that we need to really drive home and drive in. So on that note, I will close now. So, much of the information that I mentioned comes from these two recent World Bank publications that I co-authored, that are listed on the screen, along with the link where these can be downloaded from. Thank you very much. And I would now invite Dr. Selva Vinayagam to speak on Tamil Nadu.
Thank you, Somil. Thank you, Reddy sir, and Annapadmanabhan sir, delegates. Our CM insurance scheme is 1.5 years old. We cover 1.34 crore families. In the past 1.5 years, we covered around 4 lakh families to the tune of around 850 crores. So with this short introduction, I'll go straight away to the topic, which is how to ensure the cashless claim in the health insurance. As you know, as pointed out by Somil, so the scheme is entirely 100% paperless, but we are trying to go towards the cashless claim. Yeah. The presentation will be in this format. So what are the challenges which we have in ensuring this cashless claims, and what are the steps taken at our level, and what is the result? The challenge is, see, most of the hospitals are involved in collecting the additional money more than the package cost. The only thing, the degree varies, and from the hospital to some extent varies. And when you try to enforce it too little bit vigorous, the problem which we face is the capacity limitation, particularly for surgeries like cardiothoracic surgeries, and availability of a suitable healthcare provider in remote districts. And there are various methodology in which the healthcare providers trying to use this. That is, they will try to inform the beneficiary that only the procedure is covered in the insurance, not the pre-operative investigations. And sometimes they perform unindicated investigations for which the patients were made to pay. And sometimes they choose a dual procedure and informing the patient that one is covered under insurance and other one is not. And sometimes the healthcare provider voluntarily delays the complete submission of information, so that interns artificially delay the approval. So during this delay time, the patients were asked to pay. Sometimes the hospitals intentionally cancel the treatment when the patient is refusing to pay. And sometimes the patients were coerced in the form of saying that they will be trying to use a better implants and better care. And some products or reagents, something like a blood units, are also charged on occasions. But the problem which we face is we could not document on many cases. Particularly the patients, they may not be willing to complain straight away, or even if you receive complaints, we could able to resources, they're ready to withdraw the complaint once they know that they need to go to the same provider after some time. And the interest of the insurance company in ensuring this cashless claim is limited. So this is the way we thought we'll address the challenges. So we introduced this class legally bindable both on the insurance company as well as on the provider in the tender document as well as in the MOU. So we have a liaison officer in each and every hospitals who are trained, motivated, we are instructed to follow up the patients till they get discharged from the hospital. And we put up banners in the hospitals, and sometimes we keep these yellows rotated so that they will not have any alliance with any of the provider. And meeting with all the stakeholders, including the electoral representatives, to sensitize on this issue. And we are in the process of introducing a SMS alerts to the beneficiaries so that they will know that for which treatment, for how much money they got authorized from the insurance company. So this will prevent. Second thing is, once we understand that the standalone diagnostic test is the one on which the hospitals are collecting the money, we introduce a standalone diagnostic test also under the insurance coverage. And we were verifying the beneficiaries through our call centers. We have an IEC camps for the beneficiaries as well as the hospitals, which is a mandatory for them to conduct the camp. During these camps, the IEC was taken a priority. And once we know that some procedures are usually prone for misuse, we reserved those procedures for the government hospitals only. And the regular visit to the, visit by the head office people or the district officials to the hospitals during the treatment given, and also the beneficiaries were visited in the resident itself, so that they will not have a fear of informing the or giving the details publicly and correctly. And we have a toll-free number 24 hours call center, so where they can address the grievances which are recorded. And we have authorized and formed a district level redressal committee with the district collector as a chairman, so that the public can address at the district level itself. So this is how the boards were put up. This is where the hospitals were made to conduct the camp, where it is clearly all the place it will be indexed, we call it Ilavasam, it's free. And this is how the review meetings happen. And this particular format, which we call it home visits, in fact, it designed by Dr. Somil when he came as a World Bank visitor. See, these forms are used by retired police officials. These were beneficiaries randomly selected. They will be visiting in the house, collecting the entire information, where they will be able to elicit whenever there is a misuse in the scheme. And with this result, as on now, we could able to identify, document around 649 instances of money collection, in which involves around 52 crores. We could able to return around 24 lakhs to the beneficiaries directly, and remaining were under the process. And around 19 hospitals were suspended. And the complaints which we used to receive in the call center is slowly coming down. So we are in the process of ensuring the cashless treatment, but it will take some more time to become a reality. For this, I'll say thank you.
I request Mr. Dhananjay Reddy, the CEO of Rajiv Arogyasri, to make his presentation. Thank you.
Dr. Selvan, Mr. Somi Nagpal, and Mr. Padmanabhan, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, the scheme that has been introduced in the government of Andhra Pradesh, by the government of Andhra Pradesh, this Rajiv Arogyasri healthcare scheme, in fact, it has become a novel scheme and a model scheme for the whole country because of the importance and the success of the scheme. Many states have started emulating the scheme. So that shows the success of the scheme to start with. And I would like to dwell upon the origin and how the scheme has started, and the population coverage, the benefit of coverage, and the financial coverage, and the process flow. So this will be the process that I will do it. So if how the scheme has originated, if you look into the expenses that are sorry. Yeah. So the expenses that the poor patients used to incur during the for the hospitalization, if you look into the statistics, in fact, it used to be the some problem. Yeah, it used to be the almost the borrowings is 63% is the borrowings, and the selling of assets is 12%. In fact, if you look into the rural areas, in fact, the poor patients already they are suffering with various categories of the problems, especially the farmers, so are already selling their assets for the farm loans and all those things. But unfortunately, because of that, they are already spending a lot of money on the health related issues itself. So keeping that in mind, this scheme has been initiated with the intention of to bring these patients under some coverage, so that the patients can be treated without investing any money from their pocket. That is the main idea of the scheme to start with. And the goal of this scheme is basically to provide the cashless quality medical care to all the BPL families in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And this is how the implementation strategy has started. And if you look at the implementation strategy, and this is the various processes that are involved. One is about the government regulation, which is done by the trust, and the insurer is again the government itself. And third is the process implementing agencies. Earlier, to start with, it was the insurance firms. Later on, it has been changed to the government itself. Then the healthcare provider is both private and government network hospitals. This jumping is there, I don't know. And at the district level, it is the district staff that are those who are implementing it. And of course, the technology services are being provided by the IT company. So then, if you look at the evolution of the Arogyasri scheme as a whole, to start with, it was only the CM Relief Fund to start with in the year 2004. So later on, Later on, there were some issues related to the child cardiac cases. So there was some agitation going on in the state. So then government has introduced those cardiac cases pertaining to the children only, and then it has started with the Arogya scheme in the year 2007. And later on, it has been expanded to other districts also. Finally, there are the cases which are not covered under Arogya Shri. There is same camp office cases which have been included also in the scheme. Then now, this is the overall procedures and the expenditure that has been, and the therapies that have been performed over a period of time. If you look from the 2007 onwards, to start with the 2007, to 2007 it was only the 210 procedures. Now by 2013, 938 procedures have been included, and if you look into the number of therapies that have been performed over a period of 6 years, so it has gone to almost 4 lakhs and odd therapies that have been performed. Now if you look into the limitation of the geographical extent of the program, it has gone, there is some problem with this. Yeah. So to start with, it was only a pilot scheme with just 3 districts. Then phase 2, it was extended by another 5 districts, then 5 districts, like that. And all 23 districts of the state have been covered under the scheme. Now, how the scheme is overall working? Now, the patient will have the various modes of the coming to the hospital. Patient directly can also come to the hospital, and he can also come through the ambulance, and there are the health camps. Then it can be a referral also from the primary health center. It can be through call center also, and there is a CM camp office referrals also. So all these modes of methods which are driving the patients to come to the hospitals. Once he comes to the hospital, then it will be the registration. The registration will be at the kiosks. Then the patient will be verified, and thereafter the patient will be referred to the for the investigations, and then he will be operated upon, and thereafter after discharge the patient will be sent to home. So this is how the overall the procedure is covered. And now if you look at the population coverage, so to start with, it started with a limited number of population. Now it has been covered almost 233 lakh families. So the entire 233 lakh families means almost 7 crore population is being covered under the scheme. So the population is covered under the scheme. Then how we map the population? Whoever comes for the hospital, so he will have the white ration card, but that entire data of the white ration cards have been collected by the trust from the civil supplies department, and accordingly that details were already mapped by the Arogya Shri Trust, and the data is available with us. With that data, the Arogya Mitra who is sitting at the kiosks, he will verify, he will retrieve the beneficiary details from the server, and thereafter he will authenticate that retrieved details with the physical details of the patient. So thereafter the patient will go and undergo the treatment. So these are the basic the benefits of the coverages. You have the various medical and surgical coverages. Altogether there are 938 procedures which are covered. Now this is the benefit coverage, how we select the criteria. There is emergency life-saving in nature also, then requiring specialist doctors, then not ordinarily available in the government hospitals. Like that, the procedures are covered accordingly. Then the benefit coverage includes various categories. One is about the health camps through which the patients will be driven to the hospitals. Then there will be free diagnostic services, and thereafter the hospitalization, and again the free food service, and while going back also the patient will be given the free transportation charges also, and thereafter the free medical follow-up also. So these are all bundled into a package, and accordingly the hospitals are paid for the therapies that they have performed. And if you look into the coverage, so each family is covered with with 2 lakh rupees, with 1,50,000 rupees as the maximum amount towards the coverage, and 50,000 rupees will be taken as the benefit for the follow-up also. So that is how overall the 2 lakh rupees is being paid to the hospitals. Now this is the overall. The premium collection will not be there from the patient. It is the government which will be paying the premium. And next, and if you look at the stakeholders into consideration, so these are the various stakeholders who are involved in the overall the performance of this scheme. Now if you look into it, there are the Arogya Shri Trust is there, and the network hospitals are there, and It's jumping. That's the problem here. No, it's jumping on its own. That's the problem. It's jumping. I don't know what it is. Continuously jumping. Without touching also it's going. Yeah. Stakeholders, Arogyasri Trust on one side, then the network hospitals, both private and government are together, and the district administration will be looking after all the hospitals that are there in the district, and they will be coordinating the day-to-day operations at the district level. Of course, the banks are there where the transactions are taking place between the trust and the various hospitals, and of course we have the ICT solution for which the IT service provider is already there with us. And if you look at the overall process flow, if you look at the pictorial sequence of the process flow, as I told you, to start with, on the one side we have the Arogya Mitras who will be stationed at the various network hospitals, and the hospitals itself are there, and trust is there from the administration side. And at the back end we will have the BPOs, the trust doctors who will be verifying, and of course beneficiaries are there. And if you look at the patient, the process how it starts, the patient will be coming to the hospital, he will be doing the registration, then the preliminary examination will be done, diagnosis, then admission, thereafter treatment, discharge and follow-up. So all these things will be processed and will be monitored through the back office, where the pre-authorization itself, the moment the hospital raises the pre-authorization, it will be approved at the trust level. And the time limit given to the trust doctors to approve the pre-authorization is 12 hours. Usually they should not delay the pre-authorization because the patient's condition may be different, because sometimes the patient may be in an emergency situation. In such a situation, we need not even wait for the pre-authorization to be approved by the doctor available at the trust. So they can simply take the telephonic intimation and they can admit the patient. Thereafter, within 72 hours, the pre-authorization can be raised through the system. Otherwise, usually within 12 hours, we have to give the pre-authorization. Thereafter, the patient is admitted, and the claim settlement and everything, the claim settlement is also through the system, and there is absolutely no transaction on whatsoever through the paper. So it will be through the system only. The claims will be made by the hospital, and the claims will be verified by the trust doctor as well as the panel doctors. And there is 3 levels of checks. Because once the claims comes to the trust, it will be verified by the panel doctor certifies, thereafter it goes to the trust doctor, and then the claim doctor will be finally checking it up, and then goes to the accounts for the making the payment, and automatically the payment will be made to the hospital through online again. And this is how the process flows. And one is about the awareness of the patients and mobilize the patients. And then we will conduct the regular health camps also across the state. That is a regular process and procedure. Every month in revenue subdivisions we will be conducting the health camps. In the health camps we will be identifying the patients who have to be referred to the hospitals. And from there the treatment will be facilitated. And pre-authorization, again settlement of the claims, etc., will be happening. And simultaneously all the network hospitals have to be empaneled compulsory. There is a detailed empanelment procedure. In fact, just now one of the speaker is mentioning about some of the fraud or the misconduct that have been done earlier. So keeping that in mind, detailed empanelment guidelines have been prescribed. Accordingly, each and every hospital has to be empaneled. They have to enter into an MOU with the trust. Then only they will be given login to start the Arogyasri procedures. So any hospital which will be deviating from the procedures, we have the mechanisms to check their deviations or the fraud or the malpractices that they have done, and the required action is being taken in terms of levying the penalties, or also sometimes even delisting those hospitals from the empanelment. And how the patients are coming, and what are the various modes that the patients are knowing about the Arogyasri and coming. If you look at the details, one is about the direct walk-ins, around 25% of the patients, because the scheme is so popular. So patients need not go to anybody, they can straight away come to the hospital. Even they are illiterate, because the scheme has penetrated so much into the villages. So many of them are coming straight away and walking into the hospitals. And some are using the phone calls. Through phone calls they are being referred. And through 5% are referrals, especially those who are not having the white ration cards. They are referred through CM camp office. There is a network of camp office. Offices are also there. And health camp referrals is 45%. That means a major number of patients are coming through health camps conducted by on behalf of the trust. Because every district we are conducting the health camps. Every district we are conducting the health camps. Each health camp usually attended by a minimum 800 to 1,000 patients in a mandal headquarter or a small major village headquarters. And from there the patients are being referred to. In the health camps, again, both the government hospitals and also the private hospitals who are part of the Arogyasri empaneled hospitals, they will be participating with their specialists. So thereafter they will be referring. So that 45% of the referrals are from the health camps. That is one way of screening the patients and sending them. So where exactly the needy and deserved patients will be coming to the hospitals. Of course, another 20% are we have the network of primary health centers. About 2,000 primary health centers are there throughout the state. There the primary health center doctors are there, and we have one Arogya Mitra stationed in the primary health center. So those primary health centers are also referring these patients to the hospitals, and the Arogya Mitra will be facilitating the patient to reach the network hospital for the particular treatment. And in-house we have various departments to monitor in-house in the trust itself. So to monitor the overall the scheme. And there is exclusively EDC committee which looks after the empanelment, disciplinary action as well as the medical audit. And another is about the field operations department, because which takes care of the overall field operations of all the districts. And there is another major wing, we have operations wing, which is in fact the heart of the trust, because all the pre-authorizations that have been raised by the various network hospitals, so they have to be authorized by the operations wing, and we have the panel of doctors, trust doctor, they will be authorizing, then only the surgeries will be performed. After that the claims are also processed in this wing. Then of course planning and coordination is there. This will take care of the overall package prices of various therapies, and then any new initiatives that have to be taken, new schemes that have to be taken up. So this wing will take care of the total about that. Of course administration, as usual in any department you will find the administration wing. And there is a PMU unit which is taking care of the entire the ICT solutions, especially the hardware and the network teams. And one good thing about the trust is that we have a very strong MIS team also, which is taking care of the overall the IT solution. And also because of this MIS presence of the strong MIS team, we could able to do so much of analysis about the scheme. Means what are the various categories of the diseases and how the disease, the trends of the diseases, based on which several measures could able to initiate it, especially in the government sector, especially in the government hospitals. So we have found the trend of the procedures that are being undertaken. So some of the procedures were taken out because of the experience. Some of the procedures were taken out from the private hospitals, were given exclusive to the government hospitals. That is with the twin purpose of serving the government hospitals so that they can be strengthened. And second is that these are the procedures which are bound to be misused. So based on these detailed analysis that has been done, so we could able to bring some of the changes. And of course field operation support services is there at the head office, and we have a dedicated 104 call center. There is a call center, anybody can dial through 104, and the call center we have the dedicated executives who will be advising the patients. So that is there. This is will be health advice, and also if after the operation is over and if the patient has any grievance, any patient can directly contact the 104 call center. That grievance will be forwarded to the respective wings, and they will further investigate the grievance and take action against those hospitals which are doing any money collection or anything, etc. Of course, we have an exclusive grievance redressal wing is there, and even grievance also we have given a time limit. So the moment the grievance, the time limit is exceeded, automatically we will come to know how many grievances are still pending, so that we can take action on those grievances also. And this is how we conduct the health camps. This is basically to create the awareness in the rural masses about the diseases which they are suffering. And till now we have screened almost 70 lakh population. So by conducting about 36,000 health camps. And through these health camps, about 3 lakh patients have been referred to various hospitals. And we have around 438 network hospitals which are conducting these health camps across the state. And this is how we do the campaign for the health camps. It's a pamphlet distribution, public address system, and using the local public representatives also. And through our network Mitras, we are conducting all these campaigns so that the awareness can be created among the patients. Then this is the network hospital's responsibilities. So they have to be part of the health camps because they should involve in the beginning of the identification of the disease of the patients. Then of course they will have a separate registration exclusively for the Arogyasri patients. Then they have to provide free food for the patients. Of course, each hospital has to designate a dedicated medical doctor who is called designated as a RAMCO, means Raju Arogyashri Medical Coordinator, and for camps AMCO means Arogyashri Medical Camp Coordinator. So because they will be the nodal officers from the hospital side to interact with our Arogya Mitra, so that there will be perfect liaison about the implementation of this scheme. Then, of course, they have to provide the free transportation after the patient is discharged, and again they have to make their system perfect enough so that they can upload all the details of the documents that they have to submit for the claims. And of course, they have to provide the cashless services. Any violation will be dealt very seriously. That through the grievance redressal system, we are doing it. And this is how the empanelment for the hospitals who wants to do the empanelment. So they need not separately submit any application, because we have a detailed web-based IT solution is already available, and through our homepage itself they can click the homepage, and through online they can submit the application straight away, and there are various procedures have to be followed. So all those data has to be entered so that the application of the particular hospital which is to be empaneled, so that will be registered accordingly. So this is how they can do straight away. And this is the how the information sheet available on online itself. So they can make all these fields filled up accordingly. They can get the empanelment. And these are the number of hospitals, and we have both the government and as well as the corporate hospitals also in the empanelment, and a certain percentage of the beds have been exclusively reserved for the Arogyashri patients, because unless and until we don't reserve those number of beds, there is every tendency of the corporate hospitals making the patients to turning away the patient, saying that we don't have beds. So that is the reason a percentage of the beds have been earmarked for Arogyashri patients, so the hospitals cannot deny the entry of the patients to those hospitals. And this is how the registration of the patient. So the moment patient enters into the hospital, there is Arogya Mitra available there. Immediately the patient details will be registered, and accordingly the patient will be treated. So everything is online only. This is how the registration procedure is done. And this is the pre-authorization initiation. The moment patient is registered, then the pre-authorization has to be raised by the hospital. So that pre-authorization will come to the trust in the operation centers. Automatically the trust doctors will verify whether the patient requires the inpatient treatment as per the pre-authorization sent by the hospital. Accordingly the patient will be admitted. Once they said go ahead, the patient will be admitted into the network hospital. Thereafter the treatment will go on. And this is the pre-authorization approval also by the trust itself. And this is the claim initiation. So claim initiation also, they need not approach anybody, the hospitals, after the completion of the the surgery and after the discharge of the patient, because we have given a time limit also, so that they should not rush the patients out of the hospitals to admit more number of patients. So once the patient is admitted, they should complete the entire process. After the patient is discharged, they should raise the claim only after 10 days. The 11th day only, the system will accept the claim. That is only to ensure that the hospitals will not rush the patients out of hospital after the treatment. So that the patient should get his due treatment as per the time limit that is required. Then thereafter only the hospital can raise the claim. So that therefore there is a time gap. So the hospital also will not resort to any sort of mischievous activities to discharge the patient and immediately raise the claims and make the claims. And this is the claims approval given by the trust. So everything is done through this one. And we are conducting the social audit also. The moment the patient is discharged, so automatically a system generated letter with the digital signature of the Chief Minister along with the prepaid envelope will go to the patient, and we will get the details from the patient also, and about how the scheme is functioning and how the treatment has been given to the hospital, whether he is satisfied about the treatment of the treatment given by the hospital, whether he is satisfied about the service rendered by our own Arogya Mitra stationed at the hospital. So based on that, we will get the feedback also from the patients. And this is how we will get the audit also from, apart from the system, we will also get audit through the various means, like regular Prajapadams are conducted through the public representatives, wherein the patients and the public, everybody will be giving the feedback about the program. And this is again another mode of getting the feedback from the patient, so that the social audit will be, the real social audit can be conducted. So we will get the real feel about the implementation of the program. And this is the overall, if you look at the overall therapies that are performed as of 23rd, now we have, as I told, that because of the MI systems available with us, we get various categories of the reports. And if you look at it, that the surgeries that have been performed over a period of time, both children, women and men, and the age group also. And as of now, it's almost 5,400 crores has been spent, and about 19 lakh and odd therapies have already been performed. 20 lakh therapies have been performed. And one stark feature about this is that to start with, the government hospitals' participation was very low. So with the initiation of this scheme, with some incentives that have been associated with the scheme, the participation of the government hospitals have also increased tremendously. From a mere 6 to 7%, it has gone up to now 26%. So in the process, the existing infrastructure in the government hospitals also is getting improved, so that more and more people can be treated in the government hospitals also. So this is the overall expenditure that we have made. Almost 5,400 crores has been spent since inception of this scheme. And one great feature about the scheme with the web-based IT solutions has brought the lot of transparency into the scheme. So right from the registration till the discharge and thereafter the claim, everything is paperless and everything is through online. So in the process, the delays have been reduced, the transparency has been brought in, and efficiency also has been brought in. These are the three key successes that have been brought in because of the system that is being monitored through web-based IT solutions. And these are the various, I need not go through into these details. This is basically the transparency that has been brought about in the system. And every day at all the levels, we will have a display board, so, and which is the live display board, and which will give all the details about how many patients are waiting for the pre-authorization, and how many hospitals are waiting for empanelment, how many claims are waiting as per the timelines given by us, means less than 7 days, more than 7 days, then how many follow-up claims are pending. So this is the online real-time data that is available, and at all levels the trust officials can see, and we can intervene wherever there is a delay in our services. This is how we do the operations regularly. And this is the dashboard, of course, that is made available so that we will know the progress regularly. Of course, with the successful implementation of the scheme, this is how WHO has commented about the scheme. They have mentioned about this is how to provide the equitable and sustainable financing, health financing for the poor. That is the criteria on which they have made a comment on this. And of course, the scheme has got some recognitions. Various awards have been received by the scheme. And these are the overall, these are the success factors. And because of the initiation of this scheme, the major success of this scheme is that 85% of the population has been covered, and there is a hope, and at the same time there is a confidence in the minds of the public that yes, there is a scheme which will take care of my health related problems. So I need not worry about my health. I can straight away walk into the hospital and get the treatment done to my ailment. That is the type of confidence that has created among the major section of the population of the AP. This is the one major success story of the scheme. Of course, there are several procedures that have been covered, and of course there is a doorstep screening also because of the health camps. And patient can have a choice of any hospital because there is no restriction. If the patient belongs to a particular district, he need not be treated in that same district. Patient can choose any of those 438 hospitals which have been empaneled. So that choice has been given to the patient. Of course, unlike the past where the patient cannot think of entering into some of the corporate hospitals because of the lack of resources, now he is getting that quality treatment. And right from the registration to the discharge, it is end-to-end cashless treatment, and followed by the follow-up treatment also. And even the case processing also by the trust. It is not that this particular hospital will be picked up first for making the payments. It will be FIFO, first in, first out. So any claim that comes first only will be treated first, and accordingly the payment will be made. There will not be any discretion left to the trust officials also, so that the required transparency has been brought in. Of course, online claim process, as I told you, then evidence and outcome based details are there. Of course, free food and transportation for the patient, and multi-level scrutiny in all the process. As I told you, the moment the claim is raised, there will be panel doctor, empaneled by the trust, followed by the trust doctor, thereafter the claim doctor. So all the three levels they will be checking about the genuinity of the claim. Then the field verification for all emergency cases. Of course, we have the 24/7 approvals, because any emergency patient need not wait for the pre-authorization. The just telephonic intimation by the hospital is enough. Thereafter, we can raise the pre-authorization subsequently based on the details of the patient. Then we have the real-time controls also, as I told you. One is online pre-authorization and complete medical records online also. And the crucial factor which we have, we are doing it is about the feedback, especially patient satisfaction letter, where we are getting a lot of feedback, especially as Mr. Selvan said. So we are also getting the similar type of situation where the patients are informing during their stay in the hospitals, they are not coming out with the details of how they are being charged, though they are not supposed to be charged. Because many hospitals are resorting to the practice of charging the patients in spite of it is a cashless scheme. So only after the discharge, when we send a feedback letter, the patients are coming out with the details saying that we have been collected this much of amount by the particular hospital, and they are enclosing the bills. The first thing we are doing is that if it is enclosed by documentary evidence, immediately we are stopping the payments to those hospitals until unless that grievance is redressed. Once the hospital pays back that money, refund that money to the patient, the next only we will be making the payments to the hospitals. So that is the mechanism we have carved out. So with that, and recently we have initiated some of the new enforcement procedures also. So if somebody is collecting 10,000 rupees from the patient, so we will be levying straight away 10 times penalty, so that will become a deterrent for the hospitals not to resort to such type of tactics again. And the same as Mr. Selvan told, the reshuffling of Arogya Mitras every 2 months from one hospital to the other hospital, so that there will not be any unholy nexus between the hospitals and our own staff. That is also being done. Of course, we have a field operations team. So every district coordinated by the district collector, we have a district coordinator who is invariably a doctor, because who knows the situation. And there is a district coordinator apart from the district manager also, who is an MBA graduate for overall administration of this scheme, and followed by various number of team leaders as well as the Arogya Mitras. So this entire team will be working under the overall supervision of the district collector. Of course, we have a efficient work management by an e-office and total 100% network uptime and simple patient-centric process. So total the extensive use of technology. So we have that all the details through the IT, comprehensive portal, end-to-end workflow application, completely paperless, and electronic payments to network hospitals, and of course TDS deductions also through online. And we have the best evolved IT system that is available. So at the end I can say it is the cashless treatment for the patient, and hassle-free process for the hospital, and paper-free process for the trust. This is how we are approaching the entire Arogyashree implementation of the Arogyashree scheme. So, thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reddy, and extensive view of the Arogyashree scheme. May now request Dr. Anand Padmanabhan for the provider perspective.
Respected Chairman and my other panel members, I stand before you as one of the stakeholders in the whole universal health insurance scheme, particularly the government's scheme for the people in various states. People like me have been handling this scheme as service providers for the past almost 10 years, particularly in the state of Tamil Nadu, and I've always appreciated the scheme that is done in other states like Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Gujarat. When this scheme started as a government scheme, there were a lot of apprehensions, and people thought how it will work. Only private insurances can work very effectively, and so many other things. But over a period of time, I think this government scheme very nicely evolved and matured into one of the best model schemes even for the private sector. In my opinion, if there is any initiative, the PPP initiative in the health, the best example could be this scheme. I have no doubts in my mind because a person like me has handled it for 10 long years. I started my career in corporate hospitals. I've always worked in large corporate hospitals like Apollo Hospital, Kovai Hospital and Kaveri Hospital, and fortunately for me, I've also had the experience of living through the entire cities of Tamil Nadu. Call it the metropolitan cities, call it the tier 2 cities, call it the tier 3 cities. I have worked in all the hospitals in Trichy, in Madurai, in Coimbatore and in Chennai. And I have found this scheme working extremely well. Just to tell you how good is this in terms of PPP, doctors here told us that the government of Andhra Pradesh almost paid about 1,100 crores last year, and this year they are talking about 1350 crores, and Dr. Salanayang was saying that they have paid about 850 crores through this health insurance scheme to the various hospitals. Be it the private hospitals or the government hospitals, they have paid so much of money. I think this is the best route you can ever pay to the private sector. If you give it as a grant to any of the government hospitals, we do not know how it is being spent. Or if you give it again as a loan or in some other form to the private hospitals, again it won't work properly. But in this we are paying for the cost of service provided to our public, and they have also had systems to identify the kind of hospitals they will work with. If you have seen both the government of Tamil Nadu and government of Andhra Pradesh, they have very good system of evaluating the hospitals. They have certain criteria for the hospitals to become members of this scheme, and they ensure that only the right hospitals are included in this scheme. And at the same time, they also ensure that the public have a hassle-free process of getting into the hospital and getting this treated, and that too completely cashless. In fact, I should recall what our Joint Secretary Health, the Government of India, told us yesterday. He went on to say that in India, unfortunately, maybe the press or the media or even the civil society sometimes become very cynical about the way the government hospitals work and government schemes work. He said we should not be cynical. Maybe there are certain one or two areas which need to be improved, but there are several instances, there are several schemes which are working very effectively, and one of these such schemes is this the government health insurance scheme, which works beautifully, and this has become a model. I must also compliment that the government of Andhra Pradesh initiated this scheme, but I think each one of them, whether it is Tamil Nadu or Karnataka or maybe Gujarat, are trying to excel each other in this scheme. And to say that 85% of the population is covered under the scheme is a great achievement, and I think even in Tamil Nadu we have covered about 4 crores of people in this scheme, and I don't think any private insurance can ever think of covering this. And if you've also seen the statistics that health is one thing which is in the below poverty line, that is one thing which causes more poverty because of the healthcare costs. And if this scheme can work, I think the poverty can be eliminated, not entirely, but to a large extent, I think we can eliminate poverty. The another interesting part of this scheme is the payment which the hospitals receive. Much was talked about the mechanism of making payments, pre-authorization and things like that. As a service provider who has seen the payments coming in, if there was any delay in payment from the government, it is not because of the government. Believe me, in fact, I have said this in many forums. It is not because of the government, it is not because of the process. They have an excellent system in place, they have an excellent processes in place, and unfortunately, the provider hospitals don't give the adequate details in time. That is the reason, in fact, we have found, to my knowledge now, today government hospitals, government clears the payment much faster than the private insurance people. That far I can tell you, and substantial amounts keep coming to the private sector. I was also trying to ask these leaders of the scheme, what kind of percentages are we talking about? In fact, in his presentation, he said that we started with about, say, 5 to 6% to the government hospitals. Then now we are in the range of about 25 to the government and 75 to the private hospitals, which is understandable and which is also growing. When we started the scheme, I know that many of the government hospitals in the neighborhood never would do this kind of work. But one very smart thing they did was they gave incentive, which you also mentioned, that they gave incentive to the government hospitals. They didn't give it to the individual doctors. Please understand, in Tamil Nadu at least I know that the incentive is given to the hospitals, and the hospital has also a share to improve the facilities in the hospital, and the doctors and the staff who perform the surgeries also get incentive. In the process, I think they also started doing more and more. And one more thing which they did very intelligently is to remove certain common procedures like appendicitis and all that from the list and then put it into the government hospital. And they held out certain procedures which are very difficult procedures, highly intensive procedures in the private sector. And I think that balanced out very well. And I would like to see 50-50, you know, I would like to see a time when these leaders come and tell us in the next few meetings saying that, you know, the private hospitals do 50% and the government hospitals do 50% of this. Another very interesting thing that happened because of this scheme is that the hospital tariff got rationalized. Believe me, you did a great job by saying that, you know, we are giving you 560 crores, we are giving you 800 crores, we are giving you 1,100 crores, so better be careful on the tariff. So I think the government came in a very nice way. They came in a very intelligent way to the hospitals and said, if you have to do open heart surgery, do it at 90,000 rupees. If you have to do an angioplasty, do it at about, say, 50,000 rupees or so. So depending upon the cost of stents, depending upon the type of procedure, depending upon the type of hospital, they decided the tariff, which made a lot of difference in the industry. Believe me, if the government had said, no, all hospitals should charge only this, nobody would have accepted this. But today they gave a carrot and a stick policy. They were also giving huge sums of money, and at the same time they were deciding the tariff. So even the private person who goes into the hospital is also comparing what is the tariff in the government tariff and trying to negotiate the prices, and that is a very, very interesting development. The third thing that happened was because this thousands of crores came into the private sector, some of the small hospitals developed. You must understand, our intention of the government was to develop the entire healthcare system in the country. Whether it was in the private sector or it was in the public sector, it was in the interest of the society to develop all our healthcare institutions and ensure that they work in full productivity. There is no point in having a hospital in Arandangi which has about 100 beds, but it operates at about 20% of the occupancy. It may not be good for the owner, but it is also not good for the society and to the government. So when the money started flowing into a small nursing home which lives up to the standard and gets money out of the scheme, I think they were able to add more operation theatres, they were able to add more equipments, and the society around that got benefited a great deal. So in the process, the government scheme improved the healthcare to the people, they made it affordable to the people, they made it cashless to the people, they improved the infrastructure facilities in the rural areas, the tier 2 areas. I think it was a great work done, and I think the World Bank should take note of this. And I think, and that too in a country like this with about 1.2 billion people, I think the government schemes are doing extremely well. I'm only seeing, if only 4 or 5 states like us are doing this work, just imagine all the 26 states and the 6 union territories can take up this in a big form. I think we will be covering, by the statistics given by Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu is correct, we are talking about 75% of the people covered. You have covered 75% of the people. Pardon me? You have covered 84% of the people in this scheme. That means 1.2 billion people. If all the states can take up, that means the government can simply cover by 80% of the people, almost 1 billion people we can cover by this insurance scheme. Maybe lastly, I want to say that the healthcare as such in India is maturing. You please understand that. in the morning they talked about the maternal deaths, they talked about the maybe the anemia prevailing in the women in India, and they were also talking about the accidents and things like that. Just about 30 years ago, we didn't have such kind of facilities in the country. But today, be it in the government sector or in the private sector, you have the best of the facilities, we have the best of the equipments, we have the best of the doctors. We are talking about medical tourism. So I think we are in the right direction, and people like us, I feel at least people like us who have been in the field for a long time, should talk about it and tell the public that the government is doing a great job in this scheme, and we will continue to support. We will continue, all the service providers will continue to support the scheme, and it is our social responsibility to do so, and we couldn't have done it otherwise if this scheme was not available. Thank you, sir, for this great opportunity to the private hospitals, and thank you very much. Looking forward for more from you in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anant Padmanabhan, and thanks to all the panelists for such a comprehensive discussion from the different stakeholder perspectives, talking about fraud control and how we are trying to make it truly cashless to the patients, talking about the whole system, the end-to-end comprehensive look at Arogyasri, and a very favorable stakeholder perspective coming from providers. It was not too long ago that when insurers and providers sat on the same chair, you only saw fireworks. Today I see a very different chemistry. So it's no longer the earlier chemicals, but different chemicals. So maybe that I was sitting in between. So I take credit. Good. Dr. Selva is trying to give me the credit. I just wanted to respond to one point that Dr. Anant Padmanabhan mentioned, and I thought I'll just project it once again. He suggested that we should take note, and I just wanted to show this. And can you just show the PowerPoint once, please? So the book on the left-hand side that I actually see is called Government-Sponsored Health Insurance in India, Are You Covered? It documents 9 programs, including the 2 you are sitting here, as detailed case studies, and is the first ever analysis of its kind done by the World Bank in India and globally. And I was fortunate to be an author of the book, and this book is now available on our website. So we have already been able to take note of it, so to say, and be able to write about the opportunities it provides. Today we have more than 350 million people covered through government-sponsored health insurance programs in India alone. And just to compare it to 2005, the number was, in government-sponsored health insurance programs, maybe 60 million. So the entire jump in the health insurance field has happened thanks to this.
The US population.
We have to cover the Indian population, sir. Let's not talk about other countries. Our projection is that by 2015, which is not too far in this book, more than 600 million people in India will have access to some form of health insurance. So things are already looking up, and we are already progressing forward. So on that note, I would make it open to the audience and would invite questions that you may have from our esteemed panelists for the next 7-8 minutes, and then we'll close the session. Any question?
Is it viable at its own, and or is the outgo more than the inflow of the premium? So what's the financial status of the scheme in Arogyasri and Tamil Nadu?
Hello. So from the government point of view, it is not the viability. It's ultimately we want to serve. So there is no issue of viability. But from the insurance point of view, if you see, it's better if it is the claim ratio is around 85 to 90. So with another 10 to 15% as their operating cost, it's maintainable. But as on now, it is within the limits where the insurance companies also can get the exact operating cost met. Our annual budget is 750 crores in a year.
Mr. Reddy would like to add something? Then I can also add something to this.
No, as he said, it's not the question of viability, because when the government takes up the scheme in the interest of the health, to improve the health conditions of the people, so government will see it as a welfare scheme rather than viability of the scheme. But only thing is that as far as Arogyasri is concerned, to start with, it was in the insurance mode only. It was given an insurance company, and premium was paid by the government. But when we look into the overall cost implications of it, we found that the administrative costs that are being collected by the insurance company are more. Rather, when we are maintaining on our own, in fact, we have reduced the cost. So I think it is much viable if we do with a little bit sense of proper monitoring of the system, so that there will not be any leakages or loopholes in the system. I think the government sector can very well maintain rather than going directly to the insurance.
So Dr. Padmanabhan is raising his hand, so I'll give it.
I think Dr. Sood made a mistake in asking the question. He should have asked, is it viable for the hospitals to do this program? I think he made a mistake in asking. No, but I think it's what you said is also true, and I just wanted to make a point here. I told you also that these schemes are driving the tariff across the country. But at the same time, I'm afraid in some cases, when you fix the tariff, we don't really appreciate the ground realities of escalating costs, inflation, and imported materials and things like that. So sometimes we have a real problem in accommodating certain procedures. But one thing I must compliment here, particularly I have this experience. Tamil Nadu government convenes a meeting every year. I have attended to your meetings. In those meetings, whenever we bring up certain issues, saying that for this particular procedure, maybe a cost of the stent or a cost of an implant is so prohibitive, so we have some issues. They don't give decisions straight away, but definitely they say we will think and come back. In many cases, they have worked out and they have modified the charges. In some cases, they have said, sorry, this is what you can do, and if you do it, otherwise leave it. I think that way the governments have been very, very reasonable, and we are trying to make it viable. At least as from the service provider's point of view, we are trying to make it viable.
Thank you, sir. See, as such, the package which we give to the private hospital is definitely much lower than the commercial rate. So it may be in the range of 50 to 60% of the commercial rate only. Since we give volume, it is manageable, and the rates are scientifically worked out with the concerned specialist, consumable cost. See, maybe if the consumable cost is the one which is consuming the money, with the negotiating with the vendor, we could able to fix the lower rate for the scheme patients. So in that way, the package costs are reasonable. Maybe as pointed out by sir, whenever on an individual case-to-case basis, if it is done, definitely we'll consider. And in certain procedures, intentionally would have fixed at a lower level also, so that the misuse of that particular procedure is not happening. That's also been taken care.
And if I can add my 2 cents to this very, very valid discussion, I think the question that we should be asking is this sustainable? Viability happens when you collect a premium and you pay out a claim. From the providers, from the scheme's perspective, they may be using an insurer as an intermediary, but this is government money and there's no contribution being collected from the beneficiaries in almost all the new generation health insurance programs. So the question is it sustainable for the government to keep paying, especially if costs keep rising? Is it sustainable for the insurers if they keep cutting premium and it's not happening in these 2 schemes, but it's happening in the national scheme where the premium is now actually a fraction of what it was 5 years back. Which is often unviable, and then it leads to other practices in terms of cutting down on services and somehow trying to not pay claims and not pay providers. And finally, the third issue of sustainability, is it sustainable for providers? Is the money enough as and when insurance picks up? So when you are operating on the marginal cost model, when you are operating on, okay, I've got 70% bed occupancy, now I only have to pay my variable cost, my fixed cost is taken care of, and this is good money compared to the variable cost I incur, it made sense. But as you move from 20% or 30% of the population to 80% or 90% of the population, will it continue to be viable at the same price point or not is another question, because now you have to start thinking in terms of replacement, capital cost, opportunity cost of capital, and the rising cost of labor. So those are questions we are all grappling with. These are not easy questions. These are questions not just about health insurance. These are questions about our health system as a whole as we move towards a little more greater role of demand-side financing. Because this increase in demand-side financing is not just happening for government schemes. It's also happening for the private health insurance sector, which is growing at 30% per annum over the last 10 years. So if we look at the combined effect of the sector, it is certainly going to be a pressure on all the stakeholders to be sustainable, and that is something where I think I'll come back to the theme of this session, that information technology will greatly greatly contribute. We'll have to keep cutting down on admin costs, we'll have to keep cutting down on transaction costs, we'll have to be far more efficient than we are, and we'll have to make sure that unnecessary leakages, malpractices are caught and corrected. So all that will contribute to the long-term sustainability, even if the question of viability does not arise because it's a fully funded welfare program as such.
That point is well understood. Now, to further, if you wish to prevent any abuse or moral hazard, then what do you think about the possibility of co-payment? And with co-payment, the users will realize that healthcare has a certain cost and they value it more. And then certainly it can be scaled up to a universal health coverage, as Dr. Nagpal is mentioning, covering up to 80% of the population, how to scale it up, and then what kind of things we need to think about. So has co-payment been thought as an option any time by the providers of these insurance schemes?
Sure.
I think as a service provider, I should say in the government scheme have the co-payment system, but I am against it. I am very clear about it personally speaking, and also from the service provider point of view. For the government funded scheme, after all, the government funded scheme is for the poor people. It is for the below poverty line people. And so there should be no question of co-payment for the government funded schemes, insurance schemes. But as far as the private insurance schemes are concerned, if you and me want to take an insurance, I think better have a co-payment system as it happens in US, and I think that is a good suggestion for the private insurance, but not for the government insurance. That is my personal opinion.
We are also the same user. Since it's a government welfare scheme, we are not interested in making even 1 rupee to be paid by the families. So in fact, the smart card which we give also, that also we don't collect from the beneficiary. Another apprehension is, if you, it's not pertaining to any particular hospital, if you allow the hospital to collect even 10 rupees as a co-payment, there is every possibility of those people collecting it 1,000 rupees from the beneficiary. It's difficult to curtail. So as a co-payment in the government insurance, we have not thought of it.
So in fact, if you look at the evolution of health insurance programs, yeah, sure.
Add what Mr. Selvan said. See, in fact, the statistics which I have shown to you, so the government has initiated this scheme primarily to make the people out of this debt trap they are falling into, because as we have seen, as per the statistics of the AP are concerned, 63% of the patients are borrowing to meet their healthcare needs. They are borrowing the money, and 12% of the patients are selling their assets to take care of their serious ailments are concerned. So they are already riddled with so many other issues like farm loans, then lack of facilities in the villages. So the government wants to chip in to make them to come out of at least one such issue which the government can take care of. So the genesis of that is only to make the patient to get rid of these problems, health-related problems, because they are unable to finance it. So government wants to chip in on the behalf of these poor patients. In any case, we are collecting the taxes. The background is that.
Yeah. So target group being the poorest of the poorest population of the respective states and governments, the co-payment, even if theoretically desirable, will not be feasible because it will really affect access. As schemes move from BPL to APL, as states want to expand it to other population groups, this could increasingly emerge as a distinct possibility. Is there any other question before we close the session? So, if none, I would like to just summarize the session. I think we had an excellent discussion on the government-sponsored health insurance programs from the perspective of two people who represent the senior management, the top management of these programs, and from two of the largest programs in the country in terms of money. I think Andhra and Tamil Nadu, in terms of state schemes, are the largest two funded state schemes, state health insurance schemes in the country. The only program which compares in terms of value is the national program, which runs in many more states. So in terms of state contributions, these two programs do reflect an increasing willingness of the governments to invest in health, to invest through modern health insurance methods, and also to really deploy technology to be able to deliver this in a truly cashless manner to the beneficiaries, and we have an endorsement from a provider who has been dealing with these programs for a long period of time, that this does seem to work across a range of geographies, and it does seem to work for the real beneficiaries who are the poor people, and it's protecting them from their health shocks, health-related financial shocks, and improving their access. So on that note, I thank you for being an active participant in this session, and I turn it over to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, the panelists, for another wonderful session. And a special thanks to Mr. Saumil Nagpal for such a beautiful chairing of the session. So I request Mr. Dhananjay Reddy to present a memento to Shri Saumil Nagpal. Please give a big hand. Now I request the session chair to present mementos to the speakers. We start with Dr. Selvani Vinayagam, who has presented the initiatives of government in Tamil Nadu, and also to Mr. Dhananjay Reddy, CEO Arogyasri Healthcare Trust, for sharing such a phenomenal services, initiatives of Arogyasri with all of us. And also I request Mr. Nagpal to give the memento to Shri UK Anand Padmanabhan. Again, thanks to all the speakers. I would request you to have a group picture, please. Thank you.